Hi, Korean Eknamalita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian, and today I will be talking about my October TBR. Oh my goodness, so it feels like it's been a while since I've filmed, and I've been struggling trying to film this video. So I briefly talked about it in my Cozy Autumnal book tag, but basically I have not had the motivation, energy, whatever, to film or edit for the month of September. So there was like a couple of videos I filmed, and those were all I managed to get out. So thank you for bearing with me, thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for your patience. This month, for the month of October, I mean technically it's still September, I'm pre-filming this, but for the month of October I will not be doing my Pokemon cards choose my TBR, mostly because a readathon that I highly anticipated being announced is announced actually a month later than I expected, but still it's announced, and that's Becca's Spookoplathon, also known as Becca's Spookoplathon. So Becca in the books, who I'll have linked down in the description down below, I highly suggest you go check her out because she explains this a whole lot better than I ever could, and also goes through and gives a tour of the board. I know that other booktubers have been able to do their TBR games with Spookoplathon. I don't have the mental capacity to be able to double up on prompts right now. So I'm just gonna do 8 prompts, roll 8 prompts, hopefully, if the board allows me, because as we all know, who have played Bookopoly before, that it's ultimately up to the board and the die. So basically, if you don't know, if you roll a double, you have to add another roll. So that's the plan. I plan on doing 8 just because it feels like just enough, really. So hopefully 10 felt like too much, 5 felt like too little. So there we go. Okay, let's go ahead on with the first roll. All right, so we have our community shelf, our chance cards, and then the board itself. I couldn't find Turk Work, which is a frog figurine I typically use for Becca's Spookoplathon. I don't know where he is, so I am using this little astronaut holding a star. Are you gonna focus? There we go. I can't, it's an earring I can't find the mate to, so we're gonna go ahead and use him. Put him on go. Let's go with the first roll. Which is immediately a double, and that's a 4. TBR vet. So right off the bat we get a double. So we're doing 9 prompts instead of 8, which is fine, it's still not bad. But we landed on TBR vet. Looking at my Goodreads TBR, or my want to read shelf, some of the first ones that I've added, first books that I've ever added to my Goodreads TBR, it's from like 2013 and 14, and one that's still on there, like a lot of them are still on there that I would like to read. But one that I kind of have to read because it's part of my 23 of 2023 is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This is a children's book. But if you don't know what this is about, basically it's what the movie is based off of with Judy Garland. I think the movie was only based off the first 3 series, like books in the series. I think there's much more to it, but I don't know how many exactly. And so my synopsis is going to be wrong because it's going to be based off the movie, not off the books. So this is what I know. We're following Dorothy, who lives with her aunt and uncle in Kansas on their farm. A tornado ends up coming. Everyone else makes it to the tornado shelter except Dorothy and her dog Toto. The tornado essentially takes Dorothy and her house and her uncle and aunt's house and drops her in the land of Oz, and she has to figure out how to get home, and she meets like a whole cast of characters on her way to help her figure it out. That's all I know. That's all I really want to know. I kind of want to just go in like not knowing what the actual book synopsis is, so I think that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. Seven. Spoopy. For our second prompt we got Spoopy, which is, here, let me just read it from Becca's list here. Read a spoopy book. Spoopy refers to things that are spooky but not scary. For this prompt, you're looking for something that embodies spooky season vibes without that fear element. And for that, I'm gonna go with a newer release. Came out in August, and that is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This is a cute cover. I like it. I think it's quirky and fun. And it's a fantasy romance, or a romantasy of sorts. I think it's more urban fantasy. We are following Cassie Greenberg, who is a struggling artist trying to live in Chicago. She's about to be evicted from her apartment when she finds a too good to be true offer to basically be a roommate to someone in another apartment. And he's so far nice, but he's a little odd in terms of that he like sleeps during the day and does business at night, and it sounds like he's from an old historical novel. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm liking this, like, I want to view more of these like cozy fantasy romances, kind of like I've been trying to find more this year after reading The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. So I think I'm going to do this for sure. And I'm hoping to listen to it through Libro, and this is narrated by Gilly Messer. Another double. We have a 10. Black Cat. So for the third roll, we got another double, a 5 and a 5. So that's another prompt added. We are doing 10 instead of 8 now. Still not bad, but we are pushing it a little bit. And we've landed on Black Cat. So for Black Cat, it's one of the bad omens properties, and it's to not let him cross your path. Read a book with a cat on the cover or featuring a cat as a character or part of the story. And for this, I want to read The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. I've heard good things about this. I've kind of just, I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. I think I was waiting for the hype to die down a little bit. I've heard good things about Katrina Ward's writing. I haven't read any of their stuff, but like I said, this one I've heard good things about. There is a cat on the cover here, and basically I believe it's very much part of the story in terms of we are following the cat's perspective. This cat likes to read the Bible and take naps, and lives with a man who drinks too much and watches TV, trying to ignore the memory gaps he has, and a teenager who's not allowed outside, not after last time, and they get a new neighbor and they're trying to keep their secret secret. So that's all I know. That's all I really want to know. 3. Broken Mirrors. Our roll 4 was another bad omens prompt, and that is Broken Mirrors. Avoid 7 years of bad luck. Read a book with a mirror on the cover, or in the title cracks on the cover, or a book that with a reflected style cover. So for this, I'm actually going to choose The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. This is one that I have started. This is the second book in the Spookabathon series. I got about halfway through and then just stopped, and it's been bugging me ever since. I don't know. I think it was just a little slow. I think I'm going to have to reread it just to be able to get my bearings of where I left off at. But basically, since it's the second book of the Spookabathon series, I'm not going to tell you about what this book is about, but the first one, which I believe is A Deadly Education, we are following a young girl who is in this school for like basically people who are coming into their magic, because if they were left in the real world, they'd die due to these monsters that essentially like to eat up people who are coming into their magic. They're really vulnerable to like getting killed. Not that this, so supposedly this school is safer than them being outside, but they can still get killed in here. There's no teachers, the school teaches them, and they're kind of just self-learning as well. And it's a kind of a look at in terms of like, if you have connection, if you're born into a family with wealth and well connected, then you kind of already have some benefits. You already have benefits in terms of, because you're supposed to survive, you kind of need to be in a group type deal. And you can buy your way in or just kind of create alliances. And we are following a young girl who was born impoverished and not very likable. She's not one to get along, and she doesn't want to get along. And she kind of has to figure her way out through this. It doesn't help that she basically has her future told as being known to like destroy the world, essentially. So she's inherently really good at like darker magic or like death magic, and she's trying not to be. So far I've liked the first one. I thought it was interesting, and I'm hoping to move on to the second one. I think the gold is reflective, so that's what I'm going to go for with that. 6. Becca wreck. For our 5th roll, we got Becca's wreck. I need to figure out what that means. So Becca's recommendation is to read a book that she has recommended or one of her favorite books. She has a YouTube, playlist, which makes me a little nervous because I know she's a huge fan of Red Rising. She's currently going through The Wheel of Time, and she's gone through Robin Hood, and those just aren't of interest to me. Okay, so it took a little bit in terms of finding the right one for me that I would be actually interested in. But for Becca's spooky season fantasy romance recommendations 2022, there was one that I remember adding to my list because I actually found it interesting. A lot of her recommendations, we don't have the same reading taste at all. I can tell you right off the bat. But I like watching her videos, and that, but this one I remember her saying, and I thought it was very intriguing, and that is Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. This is the first book in her Soul's trilogy. It's a fantasy romance. Leon, I earned my reputation among magicians for a reason. One wrong move and you're dead. Killer, they called me, and killing is what I did best, except her, the one I was supposed to take, the one I should have killed, I didn't. The cult that once controlled me wants her, and I'm not about to lose my new toy to them. Ray, I have always believed in the supernatural. Hunting for ghosts is my passion, but summoning a demon was never part of the plan. Monsters are roaming the woods, and something ancient, something evil is waking up and calling my name. I don't know who I can trust or how deep this darkness goes. All I know is my one shot at survival is the demon stalking me, and he doesn't just want my body, he wants my soul. Sounds interesting. I've been curious about it for a little bit, so I think this will be a good one. Seven. A big book. So our next rolled a big one. Basically, we landed on big book, so this is a book over 500 pages. I don't want to. So this may just end up being a rollover from last month because I'm still very much interested in reading it. I just wasn't able to get to it. And that is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in a series. I don't know how long the series is going to be. I have not read a Sarah J. Maas before. I haven't been interested until this book came out, mostly because I really like the cover. Oh goodness. So, from what I understand, this is urban fantasy. We are following Bryce Quinlan, who had the perfect life, working hard all day and partying all night until a demon murdered her closest friends, leaving her bereft, wounded, and alone. Hunt Athalar is a notorious fallen angel, now enslaved to the archangels he once attempted to overthrow. His brutal skills and incredible strength have been set to one purpose: to assassinate his boss's enemies, no questions asked. As Bryce and Hunt dig deep into Crescent City's underbelly, somehow they end up partnering up and have to dig into the underbelly. That's all. I think there's like going to be some romance in here. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and ultimately it's a chunker at, what is it, 803 pages. So yeah, I did have this on my September TBR. There was no way I was getting to it. I don't know why. I just didn't get to it. So yeah, that is what I'm choosing for big book. Five. Community shelf. Brad's pick. Okay, prompt 7 was a community shelf, and it was Brad's pick. Brad is my fiance, and I texted him to give me a reading prompt for a book to read. I have a couple of suspicions on what they could be, because my predictions right now is what was it? Like the Scythe series. I never finished that and he did. And I know that he has been wanting me to read that. I already read the Inheritance Cycle. I don't know. He stopped telling me which books he wants me to read at this point because I don't get to them. So we'll see. His first thing was, wait, what, why? So I told him it was a prompt. He's like, oh, what if it's going to make you cry? I don't know what book this is going to be. Oh, no, I have a suspicion. He said, because the first book I thought of has a sad part that will probably make you cry, but was one of his favorites aside from that part. Do you accept? Yes, I accept. Why is he taking so long to respond? Yep. Where the Red Fern Grows. Okay, I actually don't know what this book is about. I know he's talked about it a couple times, and I know there's a movie that's out. I've never been interested in it. So, Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. A loving threesome. Let's see, hold on. Billy, Old Dan, and Little Ann. A boy and his 2 dogs. Oh no. A loving threesome. They ranged the dark hills and river bottoms of Cherokee country. Old Dan had the brawn, Little Ann had the brains, and Billy had the will to train them to be the finest hunting teams in the valley. Glory and victory were coming to them, but sadness waited too. And close by was the strange and wonderful power that's only found. Where the Red Fern Grows, an exciting tale of love and adventure you'd never forget. Ew. Okay, this is a classic middle grade historical fiction. Alright, we'll see how this goes. I'm a little nervous just because it's a classic children's, and the classic children's books that I have read so far have not been great. I'm losing my light and my dog is whining, so I'll have to hurry this up. Six. Green. For our eighth roll, we got green, and basically this is a color prompt, so it's to read a book with green on the cover. Okay, so for this green prompt, I kind of want to go with Gory Details by Erica Engelhaupt, narrated by Marie Weiss. I believe this is a nonfiction filled with to the brim with far-out facts. This wickedly informative narrative from the author of National Geographic's popular Gory Details blog takes us on a fascinating journey through its astonishing new reality, blending humor and journalism in the tradition of Mary Roach. Acclaimed science reporter Erica Engelhaupt investigates the gross, strange, and morbid absurdities of our bodies and our universe. From the research biologist who stung himself with every conceivable insect to the world's most murderous mammals, this entertaining book explores often ignored but alluring facets of biology, anatomy, space exploration, nature, and more, featuring interviews with leading researchers in the field and a large dose of wit. This provocative book reveals the most intriguing real-world applications of science in all their glory. I've been interested in this one for a while. It is very much a green cover. I'm a little worried that they're comparing it to Mary Roach. You'll see soon, because I've been wanting to do a video on it, another rapid fire review of a particular author. Mary Roach is one of them. I can't say that I'm a fan of her work, so I'm hoping Erica Engelhaupt is not like her, and that they're just using her name to kind of boost it. So, yeah, but I'm going to go with Gory Details. Ten. Mary Shelley. Okay. Prompt 9, we got roll 9, we got Mary Shelley. What is that one? Those classic horror authors. And for Mary Shelley, a pioneer of horror back in the day, Mary Shelley is often credited with inventing the science fiction genre. Read a sci-fi or a book that has a sci-fi element, or read a Mary Shelley book. So I think for that, I'm going to go with The Toll by Sherry Priest, a Southern Gothic horror with a contemporary twist. State Road 177 runs along the Swanee River between Fargo, Georgia and the Okefenokee Swamp. Drive that route from east to west and you'll cross 6 bridges. Take it from west to east and you might find 7. But you better hope not. Titus and Melanie Bell are on their honeymoon and have reservations in the Okefenokee, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong, Okefenokee Swamp cabins for a canoe trip. But shortly before they reach their destination, the road narrows into a rickety bridge with old stone pilings, with only room for 1 car. Much later, Titus wakes up lying in the middle of the road, no bridge in sight, Melanie missing. When he calls the police, they tell him there is no such bridge on State Road 177. So I think this is going to be really kind of creepy, and I think that's one thing that's kind of missing from my my TBR so far. So yeah, and possibly our last roll. Not our last roll, another 4. Chance card. Hells of Hell. Of course, I had to throw one last double in here for my 10th prompt, but we landed on a chance card which gave us Howls of Hell, which is another book that is on my 23 of 2023, so I'm glad this came up. But it is essentially in a horror anthology, which I think works really great for this month. Spacefaring researchers disturb an ancient horror, an enchanted object curses a grieving widow, a haunted reel torments a film student, a murder trial hinges on a chilling testimony. In Howls from Hell, 16 emerging horror writers pave the way for the future of the genre. Fans of dark and macabre fiction will savor this exhibition of all original tales born from one of the fastest growing horror communities in the world, Howl Society. So I think Shane Hawk, I know he's a contributor. He ended up writing Anoka that I really liked a couple years ago. I don't know if he edited this or not. I can't quite recall. I know he definitely promoted it because he's the one I learned about it from. This has a foreword by Grady Hendrix, but I know that Shane Hawk too did help edit and contribute to a new anthology, particularly for horror Indigenous writers, called Never Whistle at Night, and I don't have that one, otherwise it would be put on here. But I hope they get it soon. But yeah, I think this will be exciting for this month. Now possibly our last roll. 11. Community shelf. Pet pick. Okay, our final roll, finally, was a community shelf prompt, and that is pet pick. So I'm gonna have Jack, my mom's cat, pick my books. You might have seen him before from another TBR that also had me do a pet pick. He is by far the most controllable, and when it comes to treats, I'm sure Riley would be okay too, but it's been a little damp today and she's been outside and I would rather not get her muddy paws on my books. But basically Jack is going to get to choose from Savage Appetites, True Stories of Women, Crime and Obsession by Rachel Monroe, The Big Book of Oregon Ghost Story by Janice Oberding, and The United States of Cryptids, A Tour of American Myths and Monsters by J.W. Ocker. All of these are relatively new. I have not hauled them yet. They're waiting in a pile until I get a little more to do a proper haul. So there's a little sneak peek. So we'll see which one Jack picks. You want to help me pick a book? All right. Savage Appetites. Clear winner. So Jack ended up picking Savage Appetites. What draws women to true crime? In Savage Appetites, Rachel Monroe links 4 archetypes: detective, victim, defender, and killer, to 4 tales of women driven by obsession, scrupulous, examining the nature of crime, desire, empathy, and justice. From a frustrated heiress crafting a crime scene dollhouse to a young woman who became part of a Manson victim's family. From a landscape architect in love with a convicted murderer to a Columbine fangirl who planned her own mass shooting. These stories of crime and its aftermath have alternately mesmerizing, frightening, and illuminating. A combination of personal narrative, reported and sociological investigation of violence and media within the 20th and 21st centuries. Savage Appetites is a journey into obsession and a fresh, fascinating twist on the true crime genre. So another one that I think is fairly appropriate for this time of year. That is my, oh god, it looks a lot thicker than I was anticipating. That is my physical books for this month's TBR, not including A Wonderful Wizard of Oz, My Roommate is a Vampire, Her Soul to Take, Where the Red Fern Grows, and Gory Details. I guess it's not bad. Okay, 6 and 6, that's not bad at all. So I feel a little better about that, which we'll see if I do. I think A Wonderful Wizard of Oz is available through Libby, so I might just do that. But I know a physical copy is also available at work, so we'll see. Thank you so much for bearing with me and sticking through it with me. If you made it this far, let's go ahead and put a knife emoji. Perfect for the stabby prompt, even though I didn't get that one, which is fine. I think that's what, like, this is at the top, so that's what I'm thinking of right now. Let's go ahead and put that. Thank you so much for bearing with me. Let's go ahead and, if you haven't yet to do so, be sure to like the video, subscribe if you have yet to do so, and yeah, I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. See you in another video, hopefully very soon. Chew.